So we are now on Unit 3, Lecture 8. So we've wrapped up sensation and we've wrapped up perception, and defining perception is very important because perception is not just how we take in sensation, but perception is how we perceive the world. And one of the bigger impacts of perception is stress. Stress is all about perception. We're going to talk about perception and stress over the next 3 lectures here, including the GAS, what causes stress, and all these things. But just like some of us can take in the images of sensation and go, oh, look at that painting. It's wonderful. It's priceless. It's unbelievable art. And others of us can look at it and go, what? And we don't perceive it the same way. So some of us, it gives a nice, warm, tingly feeling to it. And some of us are like, whatever. The same thing happens when it comes to stress. You know, some people see the snake crawl into the room and they go, oh my God, it's a snake. It's going to kill me. I've seen stories of snakes. Oh my God. Some of us will look at a snake and go, it's a snake. Let's pick it up. Let's pet it. Can I take it home? So stress is all about perception. It's completely about perception. If you're ready for the test, you're prepared for the test. The test isn't stressful. If you got there, like, there's a test today. Oh my God, it's my grade. It becomes stressful. If your grades are very important to you, the test is stressful. If you just want to get through high school, the test is not stressful. So it's the same stimulus, it's the same sensation, it's the same questions, but your perception decides whether or not it is stressful. That's what we're going to take a look at today. So if you were in class and I were to ask you what are some things that are stressful to you, your answers would probably vary from school is stressful because a lot of things going on there that are outside of your control. Teachers are stressful, your parents are stressful, friends can be stressful, your job can be stressful. Keeping up with the latest style is stressful. Social media can be stressful. Your phone can be stressful. There's all these different things that cause us stress. But again, what is one person's stress is another person's adrenaline rush. So, you know, some of us are like, oh my God, I want to jump out of a plane. It's like, oh, let's jump out of a plane. So stress is really kind of up to our own perception in there. And again, what impact does stress have on your everyday life? It could run it over. It could completely immobilize it, or it can make it sort of worth living for. Now, how do you get rid of stress? You can't. The only way you get rid of stress is not being alive. You know, I mean, this right here, squeezing this takes a little bit of effort, takes a little bit of stress. You know, I got to do all these lectures here over the summers. That's stressful, a little bit, but I do have some control over it. Now, again, stress is going to come down to, we're going to hear this word again and again and again. And it comes down to control. When you think about a lot of the things that you list in life about what's stressful to you, it's things that you don't have control over. As your teacher, I could assign you a 20-page paper due in 2 weeks. You can't control that. I can. So now again, I'm not going to do that because the idea of me grading 120-page papers and suddenly I've assigned myself 2,000 pages worth of grading, I ain't going to do that because that's going to cause me stress. So again, this is what it comes down to. Stress is not a thing. Stress is a process. It's not just the stimulus. It's not just the response, because we don't all stress to the same stimulus and we don't all react the same when it comes to stress. It is your process by which we look at a situation, we appraise the situation, we cope with it, we deal with it. Okay. Again, some people, when it comes to speaking in public, it's the number one fear in America is speaking in public. Some people, for speaking in public, myself included, no big deal. You know, really not, you know, you've done it so much, it doesn't matter. So again, it's not the thing, it's how we appraise the thing. And if you take a look at these letters for crises, uh, Chinese, I think it's Chinese or Japanese. I think this is Chinese, possibly Japanese. I don't know which one, sorry. But crisis is looked at as a combination of danger, but also opportunity. Stress is opportunity. It is stressful to ask somebody out on a date because they could say no, but they could also say yes. Okay. So when we look at the cognitive model of stress, we're taking a look at how a person sees an event, perceives an event, evaluates an event, and this makes a difference on is that event stressful or not. You're going to hear the word cognitive all semester long. Cognitive means how we think. So our cognitive appraisal of stress is basically our perception is the greatest factor of whether or not something is stressful. When somebody is getting on an airplane and they're like, oh my God, the plane's going to crash. I heard all these stories about the plane crashing. That plane trip is going to be stressful to them. But another person gets on the plane and go, oh, this is amazing. I can get across the country in like 3 hours instead of 28 hours. This is fantastic. It's not going to be looked at as stressful. Again, one person sees a snake on the ground and goes, oh my God, it's stressful. Another person sees a snake on the ground. They're like, oh, a little pet, let me pick it up. Those that grow up in a stressful environment are more likely to judge things as dangerous and have a harder time calming down and returning to their baseline. And one thing about being your age, being a teenager, is of course you have a lot of stress because you're suddenly given some sort of adult responsibilities of jobs and more difficult school assignments and everything else, but also you're still lacking control. Your parents decide, we've been transferred, we're moving to Chicago. There's nothing you can do about it. Your friends decide not to be your friends anymore. There's nothing you can do about it. I assign a 20-page paper. There's nothing you can do about it. So sometimes stress is very difficult for teenagers because you have a lot of that lack of control. Now, again, it is only stressful if you believe that it is stressful. Most people attribute negative emotions to negative events. Cognitive therapists basically argue that attitude has the largest impact on whether or not something is stressful. The ABC model of emotional reaction basically says you activate the event, you look at your belief system, you see the consequences. If I can handle all this, it's not stressful. Lifting a weight, you got to have a little bit of stress in your life. I could sit here and work out with this little 4-ounce heart and just sort of lift it and pump it. That's not going to do me any good. But if I reach down here, and take a break and then suddenly grab a weight that has a little bit of weight to it, and I'm suddenly using 30 pounds, well, that's a little bit stressful. That's a little bit hard, but that's going to make me better. It's easy to run 5 feet. It's hard to run 5 miles. Okay. So again, stress becomes about control and our reactions and our attitudes, but it's also within our perception. Even mistaken perception of control can be helpful, even when we just think we have control, even though we don't. As a teacher, if I say, hey, would you guys rather take your test on Friday or Monday? Or Monday or Tuesday? Like, you don't like a Monday test? Would you prefer to take it on Tuesday? Yes, we would. And you feel like you've got control. In reality, I'm the one who has control. I do that with my children all the time. You guys want hamburgers or hot dogs tonight? They're like, we want hot dogs. And well, they feel like they've chosen their meal, but in reality, I'm the one who has control. It's when people go to the elevator and they push the button repeatedly, thinking that it's going to make it close. Of course, it's not going to make it close, but you think your action's going to matter. Moving your hand underneath the faucet, thinking, oh, this will make it warmer sooner. Of course it won't. But the idea that you think that it will actually relieve your stress levels, because even though you don't have control, you think you have control. And sometimes that makes us feel a little bit better. Although we're generally pretty good at predicting overall future outcomes, we're very bad at predicting their overall impact on what they're going to do with things. Again, there's my dog barking in the middle of this. She shut up. Nothing I can do about that. Nothing is as important as what you're thinking about, the time you're thinking about it. So a lot of times we overthink how important this action is going to be a day from now, a week from now, a month from now. Of course you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, this paper, it's due Friday. I have to have it written. I've got to have it turned in. If I don't turn it in, it'll be the end of the world and everything else. But let's be honest, 5 months from now, how important is that paper going to be? Think about when you were a kid and it came to the STAR test, and your teachers are like, we've got the STAR test coming up next week. Make sure you bring a bottle of water and a snack, like you're going to climb the Himalayas or something. Now, at the time, the STAR test, when you're in the third grade, seemed like the most important thing in the world. Looking back at it, was it really that important? And of course, the answer is no. And that's, again, what leads to a lot of your stress. A lot of you guys that are advanced placement, dual credit students, you guys are so locked into grades, and grades stress you out. But I am here to tell you, and I will repeat this quite often, your grades don't matter. They absolutely 100% do not matter in the big picture. They really, really don't. Well, I got to get into this college. First off, A, you don't got to get in anywhere. B, it doesn't matter where you go to college. Where you go to college may get you the interview. It ain't going to get you the job, and then once you get that first job, the second job doesn't care what you did in college. They care what you do with the last job. You think anybody cares what I did at A&M in the 80s when I was figuring out grades on an Apple IIe computer, taking classes on how to make a bulletin board? None of that's relevant. Your grades in the big picture don't matter. I have a friend of mine who busted her ass and got perfect grades all throughout college, and she worked so hard at it, had to stay on it, whatever. I went to college, I had fun. My grades were okay, nothing fantastic. Okay, I graduated eventually. And you know what? I'm in about my 20th, 23rd year of teaching, and so is she. So in the big picture, grades don't matter. But of course, now you think they do. Of course, now you think you do. So again, our ability to predict how important something is down the road. And again, it's easy for me to say as a 53-year-old guy. I might not have believed that at 19. It's the reason why you think this relationship that you're in right now, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, is the most important. We're going to get married. Odds are you're not. You're really, really not. But right now, it seems like the most important relationship of all things. We're blinded to all the other things that are going to happen in the future. The other assignments we're going to get, the other classes you're going to take, the other experience. You don't know what any of those are yet. So the perception of how important this event is right now, it's lost on us, because a lot of times we make a big, big mountain over a molehill all the time. Okay, some stuff here on cognitive behavioral therapy, which again is just keeping things in perspective. The story I told you guys earlier about the young girl who said, what if my boyfriend cheats on me at the concert? And I said, that would be a wonderful thing, because you're getting information on him. He's a dog now. It's fantastic. Most stress that we looked at is what is called negative stress. These are distressors, stress caused by events that are outside of your control. The job interview, asking someone out on a date. Will they say yes? Will they say no? The demands at school, the demands at work, COVID-19 shutdowns. Do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? Am I going to get sick? Natural disasters, demands from other people. All of this is outside of your control, and it's looked at as a negative stress. But then why do we deal with it? Why do we do it? Well, the job interview, yes, that's stressful. I may not get the job, but I may get the job. Asking the person out on the date, she could say no, but she could say yes as well. Demands at school, yes, it was a tough paper to do, but when you got the grade back, that was an accomplishment. When you hit enter and you turned it in, look at what I could do, and it's sort of negative stress, distress, stress outside of our control can help us. You look at this chart on the right based on billions of Facebook status updates between 2007 and 2010, of course, shows stress happening more on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, because those are usually days where you're not controlling what you're doing. You get to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and suddenly that's looked at as a lot more positive, because that's days that you have control over. And sometimes that control is doing nothing better than a Saturday when you're doing nothing, when you're just sitting there going, I got nothing to do. And it actually feels good. feels fantastic. Positive stress, eustress. These are positive stressful situations. These are the uplifts that we give ourselves. Good stress that we look for. We pay for stress. We pay to join a gym to lift weights. We pay to go to an amusement park and be dropped from hundreds of feet down a 85-degree angle or whatever. No stress is a boring life. What's one person's nightmare can be somebody else's hobby. The idea of exercise, the reason you'll get dressed up and go for a run and sweat and everything else is so that you'll be able to do that later. Going out on a date, of course it's stressful. Will they like me? Will they not like me? All these other things. Yeah, it's going to be stressful. Communicating with others. It's so much easier to sit at home and not have to deal with anyone or get snarky on the internet. But to actually sit and have a conversation and learn about someone, it's a very positive stress. Having good relationships with others, meeting new people, riding a roller coaster. All of these are things that are a positive stress that will pay good money to do these things. So the thing isn't to get rid of stress. The thing is to find the right stress, the good stress, the optimal stress, where we're engaged, we're engrossed, it's challenging, it's stimulating. I mean, anybody can do a dot-to-dot puzzle, but what's the thrill of finishing that? When you finish a crossword, you didn't cheat or anything else, it's a little bit better. You get to that next level of the game, which was stressful. You play it on the hardest level. You play a game on an easy level. Anybody can win on playing Madden on the junior novice thing and win 185-3. But can you play it on the highest level where there's the possibility you could lose, but the win is so much sweeter? And again, you've got a little bit of control here. You decide to get on the roller coaster, and the roller coaster lasts for 3 minutes, not weeks at a time. But a lot of times our stress is weeks at a time. But even sometimes a loss of control is fantastic. When a movie makes a plot twist that you weren't expecting, to watch something new, this could be terrible, but it could be good. A surprise party, something you really weren't expecting, a new experience, trying a different thing on the menu. It may be terrible, but it may be amazing. So not all stress is negative. Now, when we go through stress, all of us pretty much go through the same stages. Good health, homeostasis, not too high, not too low. We'll talk about homeostasis in the next lecture. But what our body goes through when we are stressed is we are reacting to the stressor. The first stage is the alarm stage, when we know, oh no, this is a stressful situation and I got to sort of decide, do I take this on and get my body ready for it, or do I just, ignore it and not deal with it? And then if I decide I'm going to deal with it, this becomes the resistance stage. And this is when I'm coping with the stressor, but I can only cope with it for so long until eventually I hit exhaustion. So let's take these one by one. Okay. So the first stage is the alarm stage. So let's say that I were to assign you a 20-page paper. Relax, I'm not doing it. And this is the alarm stage. Oh my God, a 20-page paper. What am I going to do about this 20-page paper? And you hit a place of what is called fight or flight. Now, here's where a lot of people get confused with fight or flight. They think what fight or flight is either I'm taking it on or I'm running away with it, so I need this energy so I can beat it up or run away from it. That's not what fight or flight is. Fight or flight. If I decide that this is a stressful situation, so I've cognitively gone, this is a stressful situation. If I'm going to fight it, which could include running away from it, if I see a lion, in the zoo out of its cage, I need to mobilize the energy to be able to run as fast as I can. This is fighting it. This is fighting it, deciding to take on the stressor, to take control of the situation. Your heart's going to start to race faster. Blood's going to be diverted to your skeletal muscles so they can become stronger. Sometimes we become lightheaded because this blood is taken away. Your body starts to take away energy from other tasks because you can't afford to do those tasks at that particular time. Things like your digestive system. We have no time to digest that sausage sandwich that we just had because we need that blood to go towards the muscles to deal with this stressful situation. I don't have any time to worry about reproduction right now. I don't have any time to worry about hair growth right now, your fingernail strength, anything else like that. I take away energy from all these tasks, which, by the way, is the reason why we tend to get sick when we're stressed. We tend to break out. when we're stressed, because our body is so busy dealing with this stressor, it's not doing things like fighting the common cold, keeping your hair in your head, making sure your fingernails aren't brittle, you know, keeping your complexion okay, because you're taking away all these resources because you got to fight it. Flight, on the other hand, is to ignore the stressor. Don't deal with the stressor. Deny it, repress it, whatever. For example, if my wife and I got into an argument in the morning, then I had to go to class and teach. And in the argument in the morning, she said, "That's it, I want a divorce." I got to go to work. I don't have time to deal with the stress of her wanting a divorce or whatever else. Of course, she doesn't want a divorce. She's a wonderful person. We'd never get divorced. We're very much in love. But if she did say that she wanted to, I don't have the ability right now to take the resources and fight this thing. So I'm going to do what is called flight and just ignore it, compartmentalize it, put it away. You know, you got 2 weeks to write a paper. Well, I don't have time for that right now because I got a test and I got a book report and I got something else I got to do and I got to go to work. I can't deal with this paper. I can't stress about this paper right now. That's flight. Okay. And that's just basically pushing it away, not dealing with it. I'm not going to put the energy towards that. I'll deal with it when I can, if I can. All right. But fight, in the fight or flight during the alarm stage, is I'm going to take this on. So if we decide to fight it, okay, if we decide to fight it, that's when we then go to the resistance stage. And the resistance stage is going, all right, here we go. Let's deal with this paper. Let's deal with studying for this test. Let's deal with our friends deciding to post something about us on the internet, whatever it is. Now I got to deal with the stressor. Now, again, a lot of times the stressor is not something that needs a lot of physical energy. All right. The trick with stress is this. Our bodies were not designed to sit in a room, to sit in a classroom, to be assigned a paper. That is not what our bodies were created to do. Our bodies were created to live in the wild, you know, and hunt and gather and do all these things. But also we were designed to be in danger from others, you know, to be hunted by others. So our bodies were designed that when we are in stress, we've got to have this extra energy to physically defend ourselves against something that is a physical threat to us. So when we stress, our bodies react like a zebra that is being chased by a cheetah. You know, when the zebra sees the cheetah coming, the zebra goes, well, I got to run as fast as I can. I need as much energy to do this because if I don't run as fast as I can, I'm dead. I'm dinner. So I'm going to basically shut down all non-essential things, which again is why when we stress, we get this adrenaline, epinephrine, a neurotransmitter as well. And this arouses the body in times of stress, giving us the extra energy. It's a reason why we run faster, we work faster, we think faster, we do all these things when we're stressed because we get this extra adrenaline and it gets our brain going. Also, our cortisol levels go up. It increases our blood sugar. And again, as we're doing all of these things, we're taking away from our body's other day-to-day things. Our ability, you know, our body only has so much energy. Think of your body as having, let's say, 100 units of energy. I'm making up these numbers, but let's say your body has 100 units of energy. And on a day-to-day basis, what your body does is it uses 10 units of energy to make sure your hair is growing in your head. 15 units of energy is used for your digestive system. 8 units of energy is used for your respiratory system. 20 units of energy is used for sexual reproduction. 11 units of energy is used for skin complexion, whatever. Well, if I've only got these 100 units of energy and suddenly I need this extra energy to deal with this cheetah chasing me, I'm going to have to take it away from my hair growing. I'm going to have to take it away from my complexion. I'm going to have to take it away from the ability to digest food well. I'm going to have to take it away from all of these other things, the ability to battle the common cold, which when we do this, when we are exposed to stress for a long time, we're more likely to get sick. We lose weight. We get indigestion. Our face breaks out. Our hair falls out. Our fingernails become brittle because all of this day-to-day maintenance that we're doing we're not taking care of. This is why the #1 cause of miscarriages amongst women who are pregnant in their first 3 months is stress. It's absolutely stress. It's stress of their body changing. It's the stress of the pregnancy, and I'm a mother and all these other things. This is why your job in your first 3 months of pregnancy, including if you are the one who got them pregnant, is to relieve as much stress as possible. Long-term projects get delayed. I don't have time for that right now. We go to the flight. It can also be released by anticipatory stress. It's not even the test. It's the idea that the test is coming up in 2 weeks and we're stressing about it, even though there's nothing we can do about it right now because we haven't even started on the unit. When is it? We'll start on a unit. When's the test for this unit? You're already stressing about the test for this unit before you've even learned the material. It's when people go, hey, Mr. Porter, I can't take tests. And you've never taken a psychology test before. You don't know. But anticipatory stress, we go through this exact same reaction. And again, this is left over from the past. We're not running away from cheetahs. We're not running away from lions. But we have the exact same physical reaction. That's why when somebody cuts you off in traffic, your heart starts to beat. You go through all these things. You get assigned a test, and having extra blood in your muscles doesn't help you on that test. As a matter of fact, it makes you jittery, and now you can't focus on the test. And a lot of times our reaction to stress is counterproductive, and our body's reaction to stress is far more dangerous than what's causing us stress. The test can't jump up and strangle and kill you, but the fact that my digestive system is not breaking down the cholesterol of my food, and suddenly it's sending that fat through my arteries, and suddenly my arteries become smaller and smaller and smaller, my reaction to stress can and will kill me. So this is why dealing with stress is so important. Again, when the zebra runs away from the lion, it uses it all up. But a lot of times when we stress, we get all that extra adrenaline, we get the cortisol, we get all the extra blood sugar, and we just sit in traffic. We just sit at our desk. We just sit in front of that phone. How dare they post that? Why would they do that? And man, why? They're not going to be my friend. And we're going, and our body is having the same physical reaction as if we're running for our lives. But we're not using any of it up. And that's why sometimes when you're stressed out, go to the gym, go for a walk, go for a run, scream, punch a pillow, not your brother, a pillow. And sometimes we just got to get it out of ourselves. We just got to get it out. Excessive time spent in the resistance phase of the GAS can contribute to the fact that we can't deal with our emotions. We have trouble adapting to new situations. We don't even want to get out of bed because life is so stressful. Stress-related diseases, ulcers, heart conditions, all these things. I don't have the drive to achieve anything because I'm so bogged down in what I am. I don't want to learn new things. I don't want to meet new people because I can't handle what's going on in my life now. Often stress causes us to refer back to habitual behavior, even though we know it probably won't work. We'll do bad things. We're afraid of taking the risk of trying new solutions. Well, let me try this bad habit, which I know doesn't work, but at least it's what I know. And it leads us to repeating failing habits. You go out on a couple of dates with some new people, and that's stressful. And meeting someone new, trying a new relationship. Well, I don't want to do that because that's stressful. So I'll just go back to the old boyfriend who abuses me because at least I know. At least that's predictable. And it's why people stay in bad relationships. It's why people repeat stupid things that they do, is because the devil you know versus the devil you don't. The devil you know is less stressful because you know what it is. You're not surprised by it. So we repeat these failing habits. And again, the definition of insanity is repeating the same behavior, expecting different results. And of course, it's not going to happen. Of course, it's not going to happen. You got to try something new, but new is stressful. The last stage of the GAS, after we go through the alarm stage and we fight or flight, and we go through the resistance stage of taking all these resources and having all this stress, I can only do this for so long until eventually I hit exhaustion, because those responses to stress early on can be good. But as the body is spending all those resources on stress and taking away resources from other parts of the body, eventually we need to go to sleep. Eventually we need to go eat. Eventually we got to move on to the next thing. And we can only battle this thing for so long until we're just going to knock ourselves out. And sometimes you see the extreme of people checking themselves into a health center for exhaustion. We work so hard. The idea of the perfectionist scale, sometimes we stress about grades. A B is a really good grade. A B is an amazing grade. You get a B in something, you get an 80% in something, you're getting 4 out of every 5 questions right. That's fantastic. It's wonderful. But there's so many people that look at a B as a failure. A B is a wonderful grade. It's a fantastic grade. But sometimes it's not good enough. You get a kid who's used to getting hundreds on everything. They got a 96 and they're like, what did I miss? Instead of going, well, let's look at everything you got right. Let's give yourself some credits. How about an attaboy for that? But instead, you're focusing on what you miss. And this is why the perfectionist always hits exhaustion. They're more likely to hit burnout. You're going to get sick. And then when you get sick, you're not going to have the energy to do other things. And now you're going to get stressed because you're falling behind. As the body is spending these resources to combat the stressors, these resources are being taken away. And now we can't do what we need to do. And now we're going to become stressed about being stressed. It's just an endless cycle that occasionally we just got to go, okay, that's enough. Because when we reach the breaking point, disorientation happens. And when we're constantly going to exhaustion, we eventually hit something called burnout. And burnout is constant exposure to the GAS, causing the person to lose the will to want to even resist anymore. 50% of teachers will quit within the first 5 years of their career. First 5 years, they quit. A lot of times they quit because they're trying to be their student's best friend. Well, that's silly. That just adds stress because now you put all the peer pressure in there. Come on, man, be cool. We don't need to take a test. I'm your boy. Follow me on Twitter. No, don't allow that to get in there. Of course you don't do that. There's things you can control and things you don't, man. I saw so many teachers during the year of COVID stress out about every little thing. And it's like, it's a viral infection sweeping the country. Nothing you can do about it. Let's take what we got and make some lemonade. All you can do is the best you can in that situation. But when you try to control everything that you can't, you're going to burn out. People will leave relationships due to stress. People become accepting of physical or abusive relationships because of stress. You just sit there. I've tried to fight. I've tried to tell him to do different. I've tried to get him to act a different way, but he just keeps saying, why even try anymore? I tried, my child, I tried to stop them from stealing. I've tried to stop them from going out with the bad kids. I can't do it anymore. And you don't have the energy to fight it anymore. And therefore your stress just becomes greater. Students who stop trying in a class because they fail a couple of tests. It's a couple of tests. You got a 65 on a test. You got 2 out of 3 answers right. You got 2 out of 3 answers right if you got 65, 66 on a test. So all you got to do, instead of getting 6 out of 10 questions, you just got to get 7 out of 10 right. That's just one more question. Then you get 7 out of 10 right. All you got to do is get one more and you're at a B. 2 more questions instead of 6 out of 10 getting 8 out of 10. 2 more questions right. You're going from failing to a B. It's fantastic. But a lot of times we don't look at that perception. I can't do this. It's impossible. There's no way. Why even try? Why even make an effort? And a lot of people will burn out. A lot of things right there on high school and college burnout if you want to take a look at it there. So again, what is stress? Stress is all about perceived control. If I think I have control over the situation, there's going to be less reported stress, more motivation to find a solution to the problem because I think I can control it. But when you look at a lack of control, it's increased arousal because you don't know what you're going to do. So you're looking for all these different options. More frustration because of the things that you try aren't working. Higher heart rate, higher respiration rates, higher of a ability to get sick. It's how much you think you have over the situation. And sometimes, that false sense of control is sometimes good. Now, here's what's strange, generally when it comes to men and women. And by the way, we're going to be saying this a lot, generally when it comes to men and women. I'm going to say some things about men and more testosterone and aggressive. Of course, it's not true of all men. I'm going to say some things about girls and sensitivity and more emotional. Of course, it's not true of all women. There are guys who are more emotional than some women, and there are women who are more aggressive than some men. but we're just looking at general trends. And generally, when it comes to men, stress makes them take more risks. It raises the testosterone level. Well, what do I got to lose? What do I have to lose? Let's go ahead and let's just try something. I mean, what do I have to lose? Versus women under stress, they're less of a risk taker because they're like, I could lose everything. I have everything to lose, because they're more reflective when it comes to that. So again, we react differently when it comes to stress, and within men, women, and other groups. Of course, there's some other changes there. Stress is more damaging when it's perceived as negative and uncontrolled. And again, the result is vulnerability to ill health, often earlier death, disease, all these other things. Losing control provokes a continuous outpouring of stress hormones, a continuous outpouring of adrenaline, a continuous outpouring of epinephrine, a continuous outpouring a lot of times of testosterone, because we need that extra or whatever. Poor people tend to experience more stress. If you're poor, life tends to be a little bit more stressful because you don't know how am I going to feed my family? What happens if somebody trips, falls, and breaks their arm? Can I afford a trip to the emergency room? Can I get the cash for that? 2018 study found that 40% of Americans would struggle coming up with $400 for an emergency. $400. Because if you're working full time and you're making $10 an hour, that's a full week's work, including taxes. Poverty is a bigger risk factor for mental illness and being exposed to warfare conditions, because again, you don't know where your next meal is going to come from, or your next meal comes from the dollar menu, which by the way is a lot of cholesterol, which makes your arteries even smaller. Now your heart has to work harder and you're under all this stress, and now my heart's got to work harder to get the blood through my body. It's really tough. It's a really, really tough thing. When you know when your bills are going to be paid and whatnot, it's a little bit easier. So again, poverty taxing on people right there. You can take a look at that and pause that if you'd like. Now, can money buy us happiness? We're going to talk about this a couple of times. The idea, can money buy you happiness? And to an extent, the answer is yes. Sure it can. Absolutely it can. I mean, it's the reason why people work so hard, is they want money. When you have the less money you have, your health is less the lower you are on socioeconomic status. The higher you are socioeconomically, your health tends to be better. You tend to eat better because eating better is a little bit expensive. It enables you to take a vacation, to take a break, and again, a lot of those who are poor can't take a vacation. You've got to work overtime. You got to get those extra hours in just to keep your lights on. And it's not just being poor, but it's also the extent of feeling poor. When you're poor and you get on your phone and you see what everybody else is doing. Oh, they're on vacation. They're in Maui. They're in the Bahamas. They're at the Disney World. And I can't, and I feel worse about myself because I can't compete with what everybody else is doing. And if we take a look at this graphic over here, when it's a health gradient, health hazards, when you've got poverty, it makes it steeper. When you are unemployed, it makes it steeper. When you had COVID, something we couldn't control, I can't go to work, I lost my job, my kids are at home for school, and who's going to watch them? Of course, it's going to be stressful. So to an extent, can money buy happiness? Yes, it can. But it's also to an extent, no, because once you get to a certain level, it kind of levels off on how much happiness money gives you. Once you get up to about $50,000 a year, then from the difference between 10 and 50,000 is dramatic at $40,000, because that's the difference between paying your bills and not paying your bills, feeding your family and not feeding your family, putting clothes on their back and not putting clothes on their back. It's that $40,000 right there. But to go from 50 to 90, there's really not much of a difference. And from 50 to 5 million, it's very minimal. When you look at this great $40,000 difference, but then from 50K to 5 million, there's not really a significant increase there. As a matter of fact, there tends to be, the more money you make, it starts to become diminishing returns, because the more money you have, you tend to buy more things. And when you buy more things, you buy the new car, which is great when it's a new car, but the new car also is more expensive to take care of. I've got more bills. You were living in the $150,000 house, which was fine, but now suddenly you buy the $400,000 house and your mortgage has more than doubled. So you go into greater debt and there's more pressure on you to keep that job and everything else. And to keep, we went on vacation to this place last year. Where are we going next year? So all of this, there could be diminishing returns, not to mention the fact that not having money is a great it's a great scapegoat, because you can go, hey, if only I had money, if only I had these clothes, if only I had that car, if only I had these concert tickets, and then she'd like me. And then you get the clothes, you get the car, you get the concert tickets, and she still won't go out with you. And you realize it's you. So sometimes not having means is a good excuse for sometimes our lot in life and whatever. The greater the inequality, the more likely that those are charitable are also criticized because they're deemed suckers. Those who have, it's all about not losing, and they're coming to get me and I've got to watch out, and conspiracy theories and all this go along with that. We don't really tend to be more charitable when we have more money. We tend to be a little bit, I don't want to lose this sort of a thing. Again, a survey, 75% of full-time workers in the U.S. live paycheck to paycheck. 25% of those people can't even make their ends meet. Again, a study that showed 2/3 of Americans will struggle to come up with $1,000 for an emergency. Those who make less than $50,000, 3/4 would find it difficult instead of 2/3. Among those who earn more than $100,000 a year, still 1/3 would have troubles. You're making $100,000 a year. 1/3 of those people would have troubles coming up with $1,000 in cash. That's because again, you get the bigger house, you extend yourself with bigger bills and everything else. The average CEO has made more money by lunchtime on January 2nd than most people will make in an entire year. And then when we see these people making the money, you follow them on Twitter, you see shows like MTV Cribs or whatever. I don't even know that show's still on. It just makes you feel worse about yourself. It rubs your noses in it and adds stress to our lives. Stress is all about control. Who has the most control? A study was done here with Lozinger and Wright. They did a little rat experiment. Here's what they did. They had one rat over here, the executive rat, let's call him. And he would get shocked on his tail if he didn't run on the treadmill. As long as he ran on the treadmill, he didn't get shocked. But once he stopped running, he would get shocked. This guy over here, the subordinate rat, had a little bit less control. He runs on the treadmill, he would get shocked. He stops running, he gets shocked. He continues to run, doesn't get shocked, continues to run, gets shocked. Stops running, no shock. Continues to stop running, shock. So his shocks were random. This guy would only get shocked when he stopped running. This guy would get shocked at random times. This guy over here wouldn't get shocked at all. You just want to see whether or not he would naturally run. So the question becomes, who's more likely to be stressed, the executive rat or the subordinate rat? And the answer is the subordinate rat, because you have less control. If I ask you right now, who has more stress in their life? Me, high school psychology teacher, or for those of you at Cy Woods, Mr. Kinniger, the principal of Cy Woods. Does the principal of a high school have more or less stress than a teacher at a high school? And the answer is they have less. They have less, and it doesn't seem to be true, but would you know whether or not your principal was in school today? Probably not. And here's the other trick. If I got called down to my principal's office tomorrow and he suddenly said, hey guy, here's the deal. We've got we lost a Spanish teacher. So we're going to take some people in their off periods, and I'm going to need you starting on Monday to teach one period of Espanol. Now, no sé Espanol, but what do I got to do this weekend? I got to learn Spanish. I have to learn Spanish if I want to keep my job. My principal can fire me. I can't fire my principal. He's got more control. I've got less. My job is more stressful. Now, whose job is more stressful? Psychology teacher or economics teacher, government teacher, history teacher. Their jobs are more stressful because they've got to work on a team. What they do, everyone else has to do, and they all have to agree on it. I, as a psychology teacher, I can do whatever I want. If I want to teach this unit, not teach this unit, teach this lesson, not teach this lesson, whatever, I've got more control than they do. I have less stress. So stress is all about control. There are some events that are outside of our control. Nothing we can do about. You can't do anything about an earthquake. Can't do anything about a hurricane. I mean, there are some things you can do. Make sure your house is prepared, have a generator, all these other things. But sometimes, man, things just happen. People in your life are going to die. There's nothing you can do about it except appreciate the time that you had with them. Car accidents are going to happen. You're going to misplace your keys. There's going to be, now again, that's not a catastrophic event, but there's going to be bad things. And to sit there and if you thought of every bad thing that could possibly happen when you left your house, you would never leave your house. But the odds of them happening are low. And you got to live. You got to live. Yes, Steve. Excuse me. Life changes. Marriage, divorce. Now, again, this depends on you. Some marriages can be incredibly stressful, and some marriages can be amazing. I am currently in an amazing marriage. My wife and I both feel we're in an amazing marriage because we have both been in terrible relationships before. So we have such an appreciation for one another. Divorces, pregnancy, death of a loved one, starting a new job. I don't know why I have divorce on there twice. Promotion, loss of a job, a new pet, potty training, all these things. There's going to be a shift in lifestyle. You know, kids moving out, having kids, all these things are changes in lifestyle that you have to decide, how do I take this thing on? And then there's daily hassles, rush hour traffic, a long line, overcrowding, sexual harassment, racism. Again, a lot of this depends on our perception of whether we let it stress us out or not, because gradually it's going to weaken our defense system and can lead to hypertension. You know, when somebody is racist towards you, do you take that as a personal affront and think that it's about you? Or do you just realize, well, that person's an idiot and that's what they believe and I can't do anything to help them? And, you know, their punishment is they have to live with themselves. You know, somebody cuts me off in traffic and they're a jerk and they flip me off when they, oh my God, did I really do that? I need to blur, I better go back and blur that out. They, flip me off. Hopefully I do that fast, but they flip me off. So now I know what's going to happen. Somebody's going to freeze this video on that. I'm screwed. Whatever. Can't do anything about that. So why stress? But somebody cuts me off in traffic and they flip me off. They're like, and they say something to me, whatever. You know what? I could just go, you know what, that person is, their life, their punishment is they've got to be them. They've got to live with themselves the rest of their lives. That's their punishment. I don't need to get involved. But if you're someone who goes, man, I'm going to follow them home and I'm going to yell at them and give them a piece of mind. Now you're getting involved. Now you're adding stress. You know, sometimes you just got to let stuff go. Just let it go. Not every student's going to like me. I'm okay with that. A lot of them will. Some of them won't. That's their journey. And I got to be okay with that. You know, I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's okay. That's okay. You know, so again, when we take a look at stress, we take a look at all these symptoms. Almost done here. Who's more happily married, the couple with children or the couple without children? And I'm not saying this to make you feel bad about yourself, even though a lot of you would go, well, you know, having children makes a marriage complete and it makes parents happy and they live vicariously and their successes are our successes and everything else, right? So the parent with children is much happier than the parent without. Not quite. Studies show that couples without children tend to report being happier and less stressed. Why? Children, lack of control. The phrase, and again, as a father of 7 children, these are my 7 kids down here. The phrase, oh, by the way, gives me PTSD. Okay. The phrase, oh, by the way, you know, and I would hear it on Sunday night. Oh, by the way, I need the book, whatever, by tomorrow. Oh, by the way. And usually, oh, by the way, costs $20. You know, oh, by the way, I need this. Oh, by the way, can you pick me up? Oh, by the way, I need a ride to work. Oh, by the way, I need this uniform cleaned. Oh, by the way, oh, by the way, oh, by the way, oh, by the way, oh, by the way. And when it's, oh, by the way, times 7, and they don't get it because I haven't asked you for anything in 3 weeks, but the other 6 have. You know, it's this constant lack of control that you have with these kids. I love them. They're wonderful. They're amazing. They fill me emotionally, spiritually, and everything else. But man, they can be a pain in the ass, because I got no control over them. None. Zero. Zilch. Now, the irony of this is the couple with children are more likely to stay married because of the kids and whatnot. Even pets. I can't control pets. When you take a look at, it's my dog Tashi right there, got into lipstick. This is my dog Skippy, got underneath and got mud all over his face. Tashi here, she got a grooming appointment and they clipped her nipple. My wife's like, oh my God, Tashi got back from grooming. They clipped her nipple. I got to go to work. Good luck. And now I just went to watch a football game. And now suddenly I got to become an expert on puppy nipples. I don't know how to take it. You put a little swab on it, she'd lick it off. So I had to learn how to put a puppy diaper on. Look at this dog right here. Look at this idiot. I'm talking about you, by the way, Stevie. This idiot right here. I get home, she ripped up an entire roll of paper towels because she missed me or whatever. And look at that stupid smile and grin like, hey, how you doing? I missed you, whatever. She doesn't realize she's doing something stupid. Are they stressful? Unbelievably stressful. But at the same time, Stevie, come here. Come here, Stevie. Come here. Come here. As much as they're stressful, come here, baby. Come here, baby. Come here, baby. I just woke her up from a deep sleep. As much as they're stressful, it is this unconditional love. Good unconditional love for me. It's this unconditional love that when I sit up here, she's right down here. The loyalty, the love. And again, this petting a dog does bring your stress down. Having a dog and looking at that love and that stupid love that you have for me. This relieves stress. So as much as it can be stressful, as much as your children can be stressful and everything else, the love that you get, the appreciation that you get, oh, you smell terrible. Okay, give her a bath now. That's stressful. But absolute lovely joy. And now she's going to sit here and lie down and listen to me more. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So again, studies show that couples with children have lower divorce rates. But it's all about perception. Okay, last thing we need to talk about in this first lecture on stress is this thing called the SRRS, the Social Readjustment Rating Scale. This was the first time, let me move myself out of the way here, a little dizzy. This is the first time that they actually came up with a stress scale. They talked to a bunch of people in 1967, and they asked them about what was stressful, put on a scale of 0 to 100. And this is what they came up with. Death of a spouse or partner out of 100 is very, very stressful. Divorce, 73. Separation, 65. Although I think separation should be higher because, not knowing what's going to happen. Personal injury, marriage. Here you have mortgage or loan under $10,000, over $10,000, 1967. Pregnancy, 40. Now here's where it becomes a problem. This was done in 1967, and it was asked to white men and only white men. So, of course, are white men going to say that pregnancy is you don't have a bowling ball in your belly? Of course, you're only going to put it. It should be much, much higher. Racism. Where's racism on here? White men in the 60s not really dealing with things like that. So it's good that for the first time, yes, we've got a scale and that's all wonderful and fantastic, but it's a little bit limited. So this idea that a lot of us can have similar levels of stress. But again, this is all on perception. For some people, vacation isn't stressful at all. Christmas isn't stressful. For my wife, man, as soon as it hits like September, early October, when the damn Hobby Lobby already's got the Christmas stuff out, she's already, oh my God, Christmas is tomorrow. And it stresses her out. Now, again, it doesn't stress her out as much now as it did 10 years ago when we got married, because I rubbed off on her a little bit, and she's rubbed off on me as far as not taking things seriously and children and all those sorts of things. But again, this is the first time, the Social Readjustment Rating Scale is the first time where you took stress and you sort of put it on a value scale. Okay, so again, perception matters. That wraps us up with this particular lecture. Next time we will go through the next lecture on stress, where I think we're talking about stress and health a little bit, and some type A and type B personalities as well.